Good evening. Welcome to today's session. Today we will be finishing the chapter 31, the Bhagavad Gita. As always, before we start, let us invoke the presence of God and Gurus with us, bringing our hands in front of our hearts, keeping our gaze uplifted at the point between the eyebrows. Let's invoke the presence of God and Gurus, Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, Friend, Beloved God, great masters of Kriya Yoga, Jesus Christ, Bhagwan Krishna, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Gurudev, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, dear friend and guide, Swami Kriyananda, humbly we bow at thy feet. Great masters, be with us here today. Help us to tune our consciousness with thy divine consciousness. Guide our understanding, guide our lives, guide our path to self-realization. We are thine, be thou eternally yours. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's start with a chant. Shri Pausing here for a few moments, connecting with the consciousness of the Guru, calling out to the Guru to be here present with us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, we started this chapter, the last class, and we saw how Master said that a scripture is born. And he said millions will find God through this. And he also said that, how he didn't want even a master, he was very careful that he didn't want his own opinions to creep in. Despite him being a self-realized master, he wanted the pure consciousness of what Ved Vyas must have intended in those verses, in those every word. He wanted that to permeate. And so what did he do? He said, I tuned into the consciousness of Ved Vyas. And so whatever flowed through him is exactly what Ved Vyas intended. So this is not Master's interpretation. What he wrote, or the Bhagavad Gita, is not his interpretation. It is direct download from Ved Vyas. And here we also understand, as Master always used to say, that stay in tune. He always, when Swamiji said that, when he would sit with the monks, he would say that you will be free as long as you stay in tune. That in tune, in attunement to the Guru's consciousness is so important. And he in this chapter he's showing how he practically used that to you know understand, to get to the clear understanding. It's like intuitive understanding of what uh, Ved Vyas meant. And that is the way for each one of us to understand also, when we try to understand what is this spiritual path of ours. What is it? What did Master really mean by that? Rather than, trying to analyze, and because spiritual path is much more than analysis. It doesn't work on this plane, right? It's not like logic doesn't apply. It's intuitive guidance is what is needed. And for that, the more we practice being in tune with the Guru, the more we will be able to understand. And Swamiji often, he had already hardly stayed with Master for 3.5 years. But there were a lot of things, and he was very new to the path, right? There were a lot of things that Master said, which he said at that moment I didn't understand. But he would keep thinking about what Master said. At that time he just kept it on a shelf, kind of, that he didn't get it, but he knew that there is something very subtle that I'm not getting. And he would much later, when he's contemplating on it, he would understand. We will understand when we grow in our consciousness through meditation, through seva, through being in tune with the Guru. And those intuitive guidance and understanding will dawn on us the more we are in tune, right? And Naya Swami Dhyana Devi once said that she and Jyotishji were walking with Swamiji. This is very towards the end of his life, much like almost 50, 60 years on the path of Swamiji. And they were walking with him in a garden, and Swamiji suddenly said, that's what he meant. 65 years later, he was still trying to decipher what Master said. And he was always, so in tune that he says, that's what he meant all these years later. So it takes time, but uh, any time is very small when we compare it to eternity. So that's the point. We just keep one step at a time in front of the other. So we'll finish this chapter. So before we discuss, let us listen to Swami Kriyananda reading this chapter.
religious figures, some of whom were truly great, and others perhaps less edifying than instructive in the examples they set. There was a black preacher named Father Divine who claimed to be God. He wrote me that if we collaborated together, our success would be enormous. He had a high-backed chair across the top of which was engraved the word God. Master chuckled. Someone once accused him of fraud. The judge hearing the case died unexpectedly of a heart attack. Laughingly, Master concluded. Father Divine commented sadly, I hated to have to do it. Master then turned to more exalted recollections. I met a great saint on my trip to India in 1935, he said. He is still alive. His name is Yogi Ramaya. He is a disciple of Ramana Maharshi and a fully liberated soul. We walked hand in hand around the grounds at Ramanashram, drunk with God. Oh, if I had spent another half hour in his company, I could never have brought myself to leave India again. Parenthesis. In 1960, I myself spent 4 days with Yogi Ramaya, Sri Rama Yogi as he was known then. The visit marked a high point in my spiritual life. I've written about that visit in another book of mine, Visit to Saints of India. Close parenthesis. Master then spoke of his work in India, particularly his Ranchi school. The trouble with training schoolboys, he said, is that most of them, when they grow up, return to a worldly life. It does good in the long run, for society needs the uplifting influence of a spiritual education. But when a great work like this is being started, it needs dedicated workers. From this standpoint, what we have here in America is much better. The people who come to us for training want to devote their entire lives to God. In this way, these teachings can be spread more easily. Here again, he emphasized the importance to him of spreading his message. He had not come to America for the sake of only a few. From time to time he talked of one or another of the disciples, always with a view to instructing me by their example in the right attitudes of discipleship, not only for my sake, but to help me in teaching others. I was disciplining Michael, Master said one afternoon, referring to one of the monks, and Dorothy Taylor took pity on him. She felt I was being too hard on him. Michael, touched by her sympathy, began to feel a little sorry for himself. But then I said to him, you know, there is a saying in India, she who loves you more than your own mother is a witch. I am your mother. Wouldn't I know what was best for my own child? After that, he was all right. Referring again to Miss Taylor, Master continued, she has always been very obliging by nature. She would agree with anyone on almost any subject, simply out of goodwill. One day I said to her, if someone were to come to you and say, yesterday I saw Yogananda dead drunk staggering down Main Street, you would look wide-eyed and reply, is that so? I know you wouldn't believe it, but don't you see that you must be courageous in your convictions? To stand up for what you believe in is an important sign of loyalty. Another day, referring again to the need for courage in one's convictions, Master said, my earthly father, out of a twinge of jealous attachment to me, attempted to criticize Master Sri Yukteswar to me one day for something trivial he had heard about him. I looked him straight in the eyes. Of all things, I cried, the physical birth you gave me is something, but the spiritual birth my Guru has given me is infinitely more precious. If ever I hear you say one more word against him, I will disown you forever as my father. After that, he always spoke of Master very respectfully. Referring to the need for attunement with the Guru, Master said to me one day, look at Mr. Black and then look at St. Lin. I asked both of them to come and visit our colonies whenever they could, so as to maintain that spiritual contact. St. Lin has come out every opportunity he could get, and has spent hours in meditation on the lawn in Encinitas. But Mr. Black never came. He could easily have done so had he wanted to. He thinks he can get there by himself, but he will find out. Spiritually he is very advanced, but he is bogging down. He knows there is something the matter, but doesn't know what it is. Attunement with Guru, you see, is essential, and it must be on all levels. Smiling, Master then discussed a certain student, Virginia Scott, whose attunement with him had never, I gathered, been deep on any level, though she was one of his, quote, editors. Whenever I say anything to her, a few days pass, and then back comes a letter, pages long, explaining all the ways in which I have misjudged her. Other monks came out on weekends and sometimes for longer visits. To a group of us one day, Master told of an amusing occurrence during his months of dictation. Jerry Torgerson had taken a notion to cover the roof of Master's house with concrete. It was an outrageous idea, but Jerry had insisted, over Master's objections, that such a roof would endure forever. I then told him to finish the job right away, Master continued, but Jerry said, "It will be all right. I know what I am doing." Master was laughing. First he put tar paper down on the roof. Then he nailed chicken wire over it. At this point the roof was a complete sieve. Hundreds of nails were sticking through it. "Hurry up," I urged, but Jerry saw no reason to rush things. Well, presently a huge storm came. Pots and pans were put out frantically in every room. Water dripped everywhere. The house was like a shower bath. But there were 2 rooms in which no water fell, my dictation room and my bedroom. The roof over these 2 was as much a sieve as over the rest of the house. But Divine Mother didn't want my work to be interrupted. Only at the very end of the storm, 1 drop fell into a bucket in the dictation room, and another one onto my bare stomach in the bedroom, as I lay relaxing on the bed. That was Divine Mother's way of having a little fun with me. Jerry, who was present, said, "I'm sorry I'm so stubborn, sir." "Well, that's all right," Master spoke consolingly. "I attract stubborn people." "He has great love," Master said to me later of Jerry. "That is what changes people." Looking at Henry one day, Master told us, Henry dug the cesspool near this house. He kept digging all day long without ever stopping to see how far he had gone. By evening, to his surprise, he found he had dug a deep hole. That, Master went on approvingly, is the way to seek God. Continuously digging, without looking to see how far one has come. Then suddenly one day he will see, I am there. One weekend, Mrs. Harriet Grove, the leader of the SRF Center in Gardena, California, came out uninvited with James Collar to see Master. Not knowing where his retreat was, she found it by pure intuition. "Turn left here," she told James, who was driving. "Turn right there." Then suddenly, "Stop, this is it." And so it proved to be. "This is the afternoon," Master told her when she arrived, "that I usually go out for a ride in the car. But I knew you were coming, so I stayed home." "Master," James said that weekend, "I have such a great longing for God. Why does he take so long in coming?" "Ah," Master replied with a blissful smile, "that is what makes it all the sweeter when he does come. Such is his romance with the devotee." "Sir," said Debbie, anxious for a taste of such longing, "give me the grace of devotion." "You are saying, give me the money so I can buy what I want. But I say no, first you have to earn the money. Then I will give it to you so you can buy what you want." In the evenings, Master exercised by walking slowly around his retreat compound. Generally, he asked me to accompany him. He was so withdrawn from body consciousness on those occasions that he sometimes had to lean on my arm for support. He would pause, swaying back and forth as if about to fall. "I am in so many bodies," Master remarked to me one day, as he returned slowly to body consciousness. "It is difficult to remember which body I am supposed to keep moving." Boone visited 29 Palms for a short time. Accompanying Master and me one evening on our walk, he asked many questions concerning spiritual matters. "You shouldn't talk to me when I am in this state," Master said finally. The deepest wisdom, he was implying, is beyond words. It must be experienced in the silence of inner communion. But when he did speak, his words during those days were filled with a wisdom rarely to be found in books. At such times he would remind me, "Write my words down. I don't often speak from this level of impersonal wisdom." More and more from this time onward, he began to speak not as a humble devotee of God, but as one whose consciousness was saturated with the ultimate realization, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Spirit. One evening, Master was doing energization exercises by the garage with Boone and me. Boone asked him about a certain saint who had appeared to him once in Encinitas. "Who was he, Master?" "I don't know to whom you're referring," Master replied. "It was out in the back garden, sir, on the bluff above the ocean." "Well, so many come," Master said. "I often see them. Some have passed on, others are still on this earth." "How wonderful, sir!" I exclaimed. "Why be surprised?" Master replied. "Wherever God is, there his saints come." He paused a moment or two while he did a few exercises. Then he added, "Yesterday I wanted to know about the life of Sri Ramakrishna. I was meditating on my bed and he materialized right beside me. We sat side by side holding hands for a long time." "Did he tell you about his life?" I inquired. Well, in the interchange of vibration, I got the whole picture. After Master's passing, the first part of this conversation was published, along with many other sayings I and others had recorded, in a book of his sayings called The Master Said. Laurie Pratt, the editor, changed Master's words here to read, "Wherever a devotee of God is, there his saints come." The problem with her version was obvious. I too, after all, am a devotee of God, yet I make no claim to have been so pestered. Tara was concerned lest readers fault him for a seeming lack of humility. In fact, I learned in time that his way of speaking to us monks tended to be more impersonal than it was to the nuns. I can assure the reader, however, that what he actually said was, "Wherever God is, there his saints come." One evening, Master was walking around his compound with Boone and me. He was holding on to Boone's arm for support. After a few minutes he stopped. "Hot," he remarked, switching from Boone's arm to mine. Boone at this time was going through a period of temptations that, alas, ended up taking him off the path. During this time also, Master gave me much personal advice. "Your life is to be one of intense activity," he told me one evening, "and meditation. Your work will be lecturing, editing, and writing." "Sir," I protested, "you yourself have written so much already. How can more writing possibly be needed?" "How can you say that?" My question surprised him. "Much yet remains to be written." Some months later I addressed him further on this subject. "Master," I said, "Mrs. Neely has suggested to me that I write a book explaining how I was drawn onto the path, something like Thomas Merton's 7-Story Mountain. It might help many people, she says. Would you like me to write it?" "Not yet," Master replied. As we discussed the idea further, I understood that he was implying that he did want me to write such a book in time. You have a great work to do, he emphasized again one afternoon, as we were taking a short walk on his retreat grounds. You must therefore be conscious of how your words and actions affect others. He was trying to get me to combine childlike simplicity with the dignity of one who was centered in the inner self. A difficult combination, it seemed to me at the time. My inclination was to speak boldly of my failings, and to present myself as having few, if any, virtues, all in the name of humility. This behavior, Master implied, was neither dignified nor necessary to the development of humility. To achieve perfection, one must dwell on the thought of it, while recognizing it as God's gift, and not as a personal accomplishment. Master set out to correct this flaw in me. As he told me one day, there must be neither superiority nor inferiority complex. Just tell yourself, all is God. Sir, I asked him one day, would you prefer for the other monks to call me Walter? They had been calling me Don. They should call you Reverend Walter. In dismay, we monks never addressed our ministers as Reverend. I tried hastily to change the subject, but Master persisted. It is not that one disciple is better than another, but in an army there have to be captains as well as privates. You must accept respect from others as proper to your position. This was, I confess, one piece of advice that I found so difficult to accept that I hastily put it aside, as though he'd never given it. One day I was sitting in Master's dictation room, waiting while he worked on a few pages of his Gita manuscript. While he wrote, his whole mind gravely focused on the task at hand. I gazed at him lovingly and thought with deepest gratitude how wonderful it was to be his disciple. When the editing work before him was finished, he asked me to help him to his feet. Rising, he held my hands for a moment and gazed with joy into my eyes. Just a bulge of the ocean, he said softly. In his Gita commentaries, he had compared God to the ocean and individual souls to its innumerable waves. God is the sole reality, manifesting through all beings, he had written. I could see from his loving remark that he wanted my love to expand and embrace the whole ocean of spirit, of which his body was but a tiny wave. Chapter 32. I am Spirit.
Okay. So, last discussion we had stopped where, Master was talking about uh, incarnations and all, and Swamiji just got this thought that, have I been with you for a long time? Have I been your disciple? How long have I been your disciple? And Master said, it has been a long time. That's all I would say. And then Swamiji got more worried. He said, does it normally take so long? And he said, yeah, desire for name and fame take them away many times until they have learned all their material lessons in this school of life. And then Swamiji was wondering whether he mentioned those two were probably because that was specific to Swamiji, that probably in past lives he always had this desire for name and fame, and that is why he wasn't liberated yet. And so in this lifetime, when he looks back, it didn't matter to him. I think probably he had learned the lessons from the previous incarnation. So this it came to him, right, when he became Swami Kriyananda and he established Ananda, and you know the he as a disciple was spreading the teachings of Master. The name and fame came to him naturally, but he had overcome it, so it didn't matter to him. And once in Ananda, one of the other minister or the person living there once said, you know um, I think I can also write music, I can also be musician like you. And Swamiji said, I'm not a musician, and he has written so many pieces of music, almost 400. Yet he said, I'm no musician. Why? Because he was not doing it for, being known as a musician. It was as an offering to his guru, as a channel to his guru's consciousness to express itself as music. So that's why he says, I seem to have overcome that in previous incarnation or something. So each one of us, as we had discussed in the last class, we are still here, right? If we are not liberated, obviously there is something that we have to, some lesson that needs to be learned. What is it? I mean, it's a good takeaway for us to introspect on it, that what is it that's still keeping me bound? Right? That is where we ended. So here then Swamiji writes that in his Gita commentary, Yogananda wrote, he stresses, he says, once the devotee sincerely longs for freedom, it is only a matter of time before that desire is fulfilled. I mean, what do we need is a sincere longing for God, sincere longing for freedom. In fact, once he was telling a group of monks that at this moment, if you say, I am free, you will be free. And then one monk said, that just, thinking I am free, I can't be free, right? And he said, just by, putting in that doubt, you spoil the chance. So that's what he's now saying, that what is the most important. I mean, here master is giving a lot of lessons to be learned, and he's giving a lot of instructions to Swami Kriyananda, right? So here one of them, he's saying that all that it needs is a sincere longing for God. I want only thee, Lord, thee, only thee. But unfortunately for most of us, it is, I really love God, but I also love this. I also love that person. I love to have a better way of life. I love my house. I love my car. It's not a single pointed focus on, I only want, sincerely love God and I want to find God. When that comes, he says it's a very short, it's a matter of time. It's that short. One is liberated. It's a very important point to remember. Compared to the vast number of incarnations, he says, that the soul wanders in delusion before turning back towards the source in God, the sincere longing for liberation is hardly a step short of freedom itself. Sincere longing for God. And it is a practice, that is why we have to keep practicing it. It's not easy, but what is easy anyways, right? The whole point is just keep at it. Keep keep the focus, keep bringing it back like the compass. It keeps pointing towards the north. That's all we have to do. The moment we find ourselves, going off in another direction, just bring it back. Keep bringing it back. Make it a practice. Develop that muscle. And the guru's help is anyways there for us. And then he talks about Sri Yukteswar's holy signs, where Swami says, I find it very obtruse. And that the lady said, oh, I find it very easy. Master said, even I pause. When I read, I have to stop in places and think what it means. Even Master is saying that it is such a small, short book, but it's filled with so much of information. It's not so easy to understand that book. In fact, Sri Yukteswar, at the start itself, he says that, he talks about the age, right? The age is the yuga. And he says that he has given the calculation of where which yuga ended and which yuga has started. Right now, he said we have already entered the ascending Dwapar Yuga, which is the age of energy. And he also talks about where did the mistake creep in. It crept in at the end of the descending Dwapar Yuga, where Krishna and Yudhishthir and all existed. And at that time, the consciousness of the planet was going low, and that is when this mistake entered the almanac. And he has given precise calculation. And he's spoken about a lot of things where he says that, it's because he's written it to somebody who is seeking. And he said that those who are already in Treta Yuga, they don't need this. They already understand it, right? And he's saying those who will not understand, whose consciousness is still stuck in the Kali, they will never understand it. Anyways, this book is not for them. He is so, and Master says that even I sometimes have to pause at places to understand what I mean. So much of wisdom is filled in that small book. Sorry. Okay, so here, when again, a master is talking about many people come on the spiritual path when they go to the saints and all, they expect miracles, right? He says that though the saints, when he's talking here is about a self-realized master. He says that what is the most miraculous thing about a saint is his humility. The master's, he has the power of the universe, the self-realized master, yet they're humble because there is no ego. Where there is no ego, as Master himself said, where is what I mean, he for himself he said, like, where what humility when there is no ego? There is nobody. Yogananda, I killed Yogananda a long time. No one lives in this body but God. And that's what in future in the other pages also we saw. He talks about where God is. There his saints come. So he's saying that the saints don't, do, I mean, it seems like miracle actually to us. But what these people are actually doing is they are so one with the universe. They are actually, they know the laws of the universe and they are just operating that. To us who don't understand, we think, oh, that's a miracle, right? And he's also saying that the saints don't do it randomly. It's not a haphazard display of power or some miracle. They do it only when they have the divine sanction. If God doesn't permit it, they don't do it. They don't need to. I mean, they don't need to display anything. They're not trying to prove any point to anyone. So then he goes on to talk about those Father Divine who said, I am God. Those are funny things. And he says when another person who was supposed to come to Mount Washington, suddenly he said, I had an inspiration not to go there and go somewhere else. Master says, no master would ever behave that. He's telling us, like, what does it take? Who is a master? A master is humble. A true master is humble. There is no ego. Somebody who's trying to project that they are like, God's answer to this world, they are not masters. Because these are the ways to identify us, a true saint, right? So the other one is, suddenly something comes and then, no, and then he says, oh, I got an inspiration, and then he does something different altogether. He says, no master would do that. Then he talks about Yogi Ramaya, where he said that even if I had stayed half an hour more, he says, I wouldn't have left India. I mean, he was so in love with that. It was like two men of God who had met. He was a disciple of Ramana Maharishi, Ramana Ashram, which is in Tiruvannamalai, in Tamil Nadu. And Master also writes an autobiography of a yogi. He was very quiet, Yogi Ramaya, right? Though he was self-realized. And Master said that, why don't you spread the teachings? Why don't you have disciples? He said, God is doing what he wants through this body. That's all. I'm doing Master's God's will. So it's not like, oh, I need to fill this place with my disciples. It doesn't matter. Like he also talks about the Giribala, the lady, the woman who didn't eat. He talks about her in Autobiography of a Yogi. Again, asks her. I mean, this is what Master also does, right? He does only if he has divine sanction, but he was just, conveying it through various other, self-realized people. And he asked her that, you have been living all your life without food and you know what it is. There are so many people who are starving. Why don't you use what the technique you have or power or whatever because then that will alleviate the starvation in this world. She said, God has not sanctioned me to do that. Simple. The master is someone who does what the divine wills. They are pure channels of God. There is no ego. There is nothing that they are trying to prove a point. So there's no point for them. So they are just, completely in tune with God's will, right? So Master is talking about, again, here, again and again, he's emphasizing that he has a mission. The mission is to spread his message of Kriya Yoga, of this ancient teachings of Sanatan Dharma into this world. He needs warriors. He needs spiritual warriors who are sincere, and because the masters come for a period and then they leave. They put seeds of consciousness, of various uplifting consciousness in this world, but then they need others to carry this forward, right? Most of the masters, if you see, they live very short lives. Yogananda himself had a short life. Adi Shankaracharya, Jesus Christ, who then propagate this thing, they need other disciples to continue to spread their teachings. True disciples, right? So we all need to strive. They need, God needs help, and Master needs help in spreading this message, his message of self realization. Each one of us, we can say, oh, who am I? What do I know? I'm such a, I've just come on the path. What do I know? Each one of us, every drop in the ocean makes that ocean, right? Each one of us have to do our part. And yes, how can I do it? By being in tune with my Guru. Ask him, I want to serve you. I want to serve your work. How do I do it? You guide me. And he will help. He will help us spread his teachings. He will help us be his warrior, spiritual warrior. And then he would talk about various other disciples. Everything was instructing, others, and especially Swamiji. He says, Swamiji writes that he always, from time to time, he would talk about one or the other disciple, always with a view to instructing me by their example, using those examples in the right attitudes of discipleship. This is very important. Being a disciple, yes. What are the attitudes needed for a disciple? Swamiji has written a lot about this. I will share in the essence of the Bhagavad Gita also. He's written a lot about it. I'll share in that group some of his this thing. But what is most important, Swamiji has spoken it time and again. What is most important is that attitude, a serving versus the attitude, which it doesn't matter what we do, in serving the Guru. It doesn't matter what we do. Am I teaching? I am a teacher. Or rather than, just pushing chairs in the center, does that become smaller? Or because somebody is a teacher, they become bigger? No, none of it really matters. What matters is with what attitude are we serving the Guru? That's the most important aspect of discipleship. So in order to teach, guide Swamiji, he would keep taking examples of this. First, he talks about Michael, whom once he was disciplining him, he must have been a bit tough with him. And this other lady took pity on him. He says, I'm your mother. He says in India, there's a saying, she who loves you more than your mother, your own mother, is a witch. He says, I am your mother. Wouldn't I know what is best for my own child? So, whenever we find, if we come on the path and we think everything is going to smoothen out because, now my Guru who is taking care of my life. No, he will allow certain lessons to come to us. Why? Because that will help us, progress on the spiritual journey. Does that mean I'll say, oh, so there's so many obstacles coming, so many lessons, so many, difficulties. I think this is not my path. I move to the next path. Because, oh, if everybody says that is so nice. He says, I'm your mother. I know what my child, the mother knows, right? Just a biological mother. We know what my child, what is his, health condition, what food he likes, what he doesn't like, what is right for him. The mother knows. Nobody else would know. So he says, I know. So what I'm giving you, take it. It's for your own good, right? He says after that, Michael became okay. Then he's saying Miss Taylor herself, she was wishy-washy. Anybody saying something, she would, he says, if somebody said that, you might not believe that person. But he's saying that's not enough. Don't you see that you must be courageous in your conviction? And then he goes on to talk about his own father when he spoke against his guru, Sri Yukteswar. He says that, biological birth is something, you are my father. Physical birth is something, but spiritual birth is everything. One more word. And we are talking about early 20th century where the kids in India wouldn't talk back to their father like that. Very respectful. If he said, despite that, is because he says that the guru is my spiritual father. He gave me everything, the infinite potential in me. He opened it. Say one more word, I will disown you. Master says that loyalty is the first law of God. So it's not just, many times when we hear somebody saying things against the guru or something off the path, or so we feel that, okay, I mean, they're talking nonsense. I don't believe that. Let them say whatever they want to. It doesn't matter to me. I don't believe that. That is not enough, he's saying. You have to stand up. Stand up and say, this is wrong. What you're talking is absolutely wrong. Swamiji would say that. Swamiji would do that. There was somebody who was talking against master, and he says, listen, you can't talk like this. This is very important. So you have to be courageous in your conviction. It is not a path. This path is not about being meek. It is like uh, lion like swamis is what Sri Yukteswar said will come out of India. So you have to be courageous. It takes a lot to stand up and say, no, you're wrong. When we believe in something, not only on this path, anything that we believe in, when we are we have a conviction about something, should be courageous about it. Then he says, referring to the need for attunement with the Guru, Master said to me, and then he talks about Mr. Black and Rajrishi Janakananda. He says both are very advanced disciples of Master. And he told both that, as often as possible, come to the ashram and meditate here. Come here. And Rajrishi, he was a multi-millionaire. He had multiple businesses going, but he would make sure he would come there and meditate, be there at the ashram. Mr. Black wouldn't come. And he says, but Mr. Black never came. He could easily have done so, but he wanted to. He thinks he can get there by himself, but he will find him. Many of us do that, right? When we say, come to the center, oh, I have this, that going, my child, I have to draw, something or the other in life is going on, engaging us. I wish I could come, but it's not happening. This family, this work, there's always going to be something. Why he's saying, even these advanced disciples, I mean, Rajrishi Janakananda became Jivan Mukta in that lifetime itself. And yet, Black was almost there. Yet he couldn't. He says, spiritually, he's very advanced, Master says, but he is bogging down. That is the reason Master keeps calling us to come here. Because be in that vibration. That's very important. Being in the vibration on your own, there's a lot that is going. I mean, if we are living in a community where everybody is a truth seeker, is different. If we are living, in a regular setup, there's a lot of willpower that we have to put up. There's a lot that we need to do, and we can get bogged down. I mean, we have seen this happening many times. Like people come, very sincere seekers, come take Kriya, and then they stop coming. Then you meet them, well, where are you? Oh, this happened, that happened, this happened, that happened. So I can't come. I will come, but I'm meditating. I'm doing my Kriya. And slowly after sometimes everything falls off. Even the meditation falls off. It just getting bogged down. It's all about that. So very important to be in that aura of the Guru. So what does it take? He says satsang, being in the company of truth seekers is very, very important. Uh, because each one of us can then, keep helping each other up. And Guru is watching over all this satsang, seva, these things. Yes, meditation, we have to meditate, but these other things are the ones that help us propel us in our spiritual journey. So it's very, very important to be there. Again, these are the instructions he's giving Swamiji, not just for Swamiji, it is for any disciple on the path. What does it take? To stay the path. So as we saw, one is like, when the Guru is disciplining you, take it, because know it that it is for my own good. He's my divine mother. He knows what I need, right? When and he's saying loyalty again, not to get wishy-washy and if somebody saying this path is good, that path, I went there, that Guru. Stay with your Guru and don't allow anyone talk against your Guru. Very important. Loyalty is the first law of God. And then he's saying that, no, come often, serve, be in that aura of the vibration of the Guru. Important. So, and then he's talking about Virginia Scott when he says, when I say something, then after some days, pages and pages of justification comes, that you have misjudged me. Again, we are wrong, take it, accept it. Guru is guiding us through somebody also. So the point is not to, that's the ego, right? Saying that, oh, they said this about me. They are talking like this about me. Accept it. See, if they are somebody who's saying, is their master always used, Shri Yukteswar always, Swamiji, I think, Swamiji always used to say that I would consider it. If somebody says any criticism, I would consider, is this really, what I have in me, and correct it if possible. If it is not, he would not react. The moment we react, that means there is a kink in our armor. That means we have something. The moment a reaction comes means it is coming out of the ego. So it's good to consider that, is there any truth in this? It's very important. And he's talking about Jerry who tried to put concrete on his roof, and it was all funny. Master allowed him. He knew this will not go. It's not going to, but he allowed him. Why? Very simple. He says he has great love. That is what changes people. All errors that one can have falls away. All that we need to have is genuine love for God. And when Jerry says, I'm sorry, I'm so stubborn, Ma, sir, he says, I attract stubborn people. It's good, even for being on the path and, pushing forward, it takes that amount of stubbornness, right? It's not easy to continue on the path. But what is very important is love for God in the heart. It changes everything. It changes the person. It transforms the person, right? All the faults can disappear. And then he talks about Henry, who dug for a cesspool, and he says he kept digging, he kept digging till he saw, by the end of the day, he's reached. And he says, then suddenly he says this is how he says is the way to seek God. Continuously digging, every day meditating, doing seva, being in the satsang, doing japa, reading master's books, reading Swamiji's books, listening to talk. Every day, whatever I can keep doing without saying, have I progressed? Oh, I don't think I have progressed much. Is my meditation really working? Am I doing so many kriyas, but that person is doing more kriyas, I'm doing less kriyas? I haven't got any experience. I don't see light. I don't hear master. I don't see visions of master. Master said that, the spiritual path is no circus. So it's okay to calibrate, and keep coming back. That's okay but if we put seeds on the soil and every day, if we keep plucking it out and seeing has it sprouted, it's going to die, right? What do we do? How do we do a plant? I mean, we put the seeds, we put right soil, we make sure it's in the sunlight, we water the plants, and one day it sprouts. And we keep it protected. We when it's a small plant, then other the pests can come, the animals can come and eat it. So we put a fence around it. Why? It's very important again. Till it becomes a huge tree, like banyan tree, and it gives um, shade to everyone, right? That is the way for the spiritual journey also. We water it with everyday meditation. We put in the right soil. We ensure we are in the right company. We protect uh, the with a fence of truth seekers. That's the satsang is so important. We protect. We try to stay in the aura of the guru till you become the master. Then nothing affects master. So many people come to them. The master, the self-realized guru, he gives shade to everyone. That is what is the intent. That is how we have to, uh, you know, uh, be on the path. And then intuition, again, intuitive guidance. The more we keep seeking, like how Mrs. Harriet Grove, who didn't know, I know she wanted to meet Master. She kept tuning in. This is where he is. This is where you turn right, turn right. And she arrived. And when she arrived, what did he do? He said, "This is the afternoon that I usually go out for a ride in the car, but I knew you were coming. So I stayed home." How sweet is that? He knew she's coming because she tuned in. She tuned in. He knew. He knows. He knows each one of us. As he told Swamiji once, I know every thought that each one of you think. He knows. Are we tuning in? It's very important to develop our intuition. It is also like a muscle that we develop, like how we go to a gym to develop muscles. Intuition is also keep, as I said, like a compass, keep bringing it back to Guru. What would Guru do in this situation? What does Guru want me to do in this? What does Guru want me to say in this situation? Keep calibrating back till it becomes a habit. Like there was Sister Gyan Mata, who was one of his primary woman disciple. She was so tuned in. I mean, if he was giving a lecture somewhere else, she knew what he was saying. She knew exactly what he was thinking, what guidance he will give. She was so tuned in. She didn't need him to be physically there. It was that much of attunement. It is a muscle we have to work on. He's waiting for us all the time. He's tuning in. He knows all of us. Are we tuning in? That's very important. Okay, then he says, James says, Master, I have such a great longing for God. Why does he take so long in coming? And Master says, that is what makes it all the sweeter when he does come. Such is his romance with his devotee. And then Devi says, anxious for a taste of such longing, give me the grace of devotion. And Master says, you're saying, give me the money so I can buy what I want. What is it really? I mean, what is the motivation behind it? I want God because then it comes like I want to get better job, a spouse, my children should be placed well. I love God because then he will give me this, he will give. Is that the reason? Or I want God, that's it. I love God, I want God. Can it be there? That is a sincere longing of the heart, is what Master says. Then that's just a step away from the one is away from the this thing. And Swami Kriyananda in the essence of the Bhagavad Gita writes that at the end of the quest, when after all the suffering and everything, when the saint finds God, nobody has ever said, "Oh, what a scam." They have said each one of it has been well worth it. Every suffering, every test, every obstacle has been well worth it. God is testing us. Do you really want me? Or do you want me for? Because, as I said, because. So he tests too, right? The evening, Master he says, when he would walk, I mean, he was in such an expanded, especially towards the end of his life, as Swamiji says that now he would often tell him, write it down. I don't often speak from this level of wisdom. Towards the end of it, there was a lot of wisdom that was flowing through Master. And when he's walking, he says he would pause, swaying back and forth as if about to fall. I'm in so many bodies. It is difficult to remember which body I'm supposed to keep moving. I mean, he was in such an expanded state of consciousness. And he would always keep telling, he says, like at such, when he was talking from that level of wisdom, uh, at such times he would remind me, write my words down. I don't often speak from this level of impersonal wisdom. He was always preparing Swamiji. He knew, I mean, of course, he knew the role that Swami Kriyananda has to play after Master has left. So he was always giving him instructions and he would keep telling, write down, write it down, write it down. Each one has a role to play, right, in the Master's work. And he prepares, he gives. I mean, he gives the power to do it also. It's not I'm on the warrior of God, my guru. I'm going to do this. Whatever he wants to flow through us, he will give the power to also be able to do it. And here he was preparing Master Swamiji, as you see. He says, more and more from this time onwards, he began to speak not as a humble devotee of God, but as someone whose consciousness was saturated with the ultimate realization. He was coming towards the end of his, like Swamiji was with him for last 3.5 years. Master knew when he was going to leave the body. So, there's so much of wisdom that he wanted, planted uh, with his disciples, that they understood what he was saying. And even if they don't understand yet, that is why he said, write it down. It will, he will, as he keeps tuning into his gurus and serving his guru, it will come to him. The answer will come to him. And when somebody asks that, that saint, when you were there on the buff of the Encinitas, who was that saint? And Master says, I don't know to whom you're referring. He says, it was out in the back garden, sir, on the bluff above the ocean. This were so interesting. He said, so many come. I often see them. Some have passed on, others are still on this earth. And then Swamiji says, how wonderful. He's saying, I mean, it was so matter of fact. He says, why be surprised? Wherever God is, there his saints come. And he goes on to say that, then the Laurie Pratt tried to change that, saying that, the people should not what ego is that people he's talking from, that wherever God is. So she changed that wherever a devotee of God is. And Swamiji says, that's absurd, because even I am a devotee of God. I can't make such claim that, no, I'm a devotee of God. So wherever I am, the saints, no, they don't come, right? So Master he again insists that I can assure the reader, however, that what he actually said was, wherever God is, his saints come. And Master was not speaking from ego. He was saying matter of fact. As he often said, I have killed Yogananda long ago. No one lives in this body but God. Once one of the monks said that, when I see you, I feel like, I'm looking at Divine Mother. And Master said, behave so, as like that. If you see, I mean, he was not saying, oh no, I'm not Divine Mother. He was, it is so. So he says, if you're seeing the Divine Mother, behave so, like you're seeing the Divine Mother. It's a fact. So, and he was again, he was constantly telling Swamiji that you have a great work to do. Even after Master's Mahasamadhi, Rajrishi Janakananda once said that Master often said that you have a great work to do. And then he, added saying that he will give you the power to do it. So here again, he's saying your work will be lecturing, editing, writing. And here, a young Swami Priyananda, he was hardly 25, 26 at that time. He didn't understand. I mean, Master has already written so much. He says, haven't you written enough? He says, no, much needs to be sent out. And at that time, Swami couldn't even imagine that he's ever going to write anything. And again, when he says that, Mrs. Neely says that I should write how I came on the path. Master says, not yet. He knew exactly, he was preparing him, and he knew exactly when he has to start that journey also. He says, not yet. That time will come. Again, he said, you have a great work to do. You must therefore be conscious. This is very important. You must therefore be conscious of how your words and actions affect others. This again, he was instructing Swamiji, but not just instructing Swamiji, right? Each one of us who are disciples of this great Guru, Master, who came on this planet to spread the teachings of the Sanatan Dharma of Kriya Yoga, we all have a certain responsibility. So, when we are at the center, we are meeting people. Always important to behave in a way that behooves the disciple of this great master. Somebody, we are in the center, somebody walks in, some new person. We are the first point of contact for that person. How do we present ourselves? What are we presenting? So at all times, or we are in our mundane life, we are in our office, never to forget, I am a disciple of this great Guru Yogananda at all times. How I behave, what I say is very important. We can't be like, I meditate and then the whole day we are abusing and cursing people. We can't. It's very important to watch our actions, to watch our words in every aspect of our life, right? He was trying to get me to combine childlike simplicity with the dignity of one who was centered in the inner self. A difficult combination, it seemed to me at the time. And Swamiji thought, it's very humble if I say, I don't have much virtues, I have these faults. That means I'm acknowledging. So I'm a, that is humility. Master said, no. This behavior, Master implied, was neither dignified nor necessary to the development of humility. To achieve perfection, one must dwell on the thought of it while recognizing it as God's gift and not as a person. The moment we start saying these things, I am like this, I am not like this, I'm not good enough, we are still talking from the from ego. Master set out to correct this flaw in me as he told me one day, there must be neither superiority nor inferiority complex. Just tell yourself, all is good. That is very important. And then he's when Swamiji says that reverend, he says Master said they should call you reverend, and Swamiji just backed up because he was very young. There were many monks who were much older than him. And finally, when he says when he was gazing at Master so lovingly, I gazed at him lovingly and thought with deepest gratitude how wonderful it is to be his disciple. Master read his thoughts. When he got up, he said, just a bulge of the ocean. Now, we think that, somebody who is so great, that the wave will be very high. But that's not so. Master says, it's just a bulge, just a little bit, above the ocean. And larger the wave, larger will be the crash. Somebody who is very egoistic, they will crash, right? They will come crashing down. But self-realized master are just a bulge. And that is what we are all aiming for. We all need to aim for. That is where we all need to reach. That is most important. And he says, in his Gita commentaries, he had compared God to the ocean and individual souls to be in innumerable waves. God is the sole reality manifesting through all beings, he had written. So that's what we all need to be try to achieve a state where we are just a bulge of the ocean, that the ego is transcended and we merge back in the ocean. So with that, thanks for joining. We'll meet next time, Friday, with the next meeting.
Thank you, Jayanti.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jayanti.